Have you ever looked at a massive, incredibly complex system and just wondered, what is actually keeping this whole thing running? I mean, we live in a world that is totally obsessed with surfaces, right? The shiny interfaces, the polished public figures, the seemingly effortless magic of modern technology. But the reality, the most powerful forces shaping our world, and honestly our everyday lives, operate completely in the dark. So today in this explainer, we're going to look beneath the surface. We are going to explore the iceberg model, which is basically a way of understanding how the visible world we interact with is entirely propped up by vast hidden mechanisms.
To really wrap our heads around this, I want to pose what might seem like a really bizarre question. What do secretive German billionaires, your earliest childhood memories, and the absolute latest AI chatbots have in common? On the surface, absolutely nothing. No way, right? But as we're going to see today, they are actually profoundly connected by one unifying theme. What we see is just the tip of the iceberg. The real work, the real wealth, and the actual physical mechanics are hidden completely out of sight.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the iceberg effect. Then we'll uncover Germany's invisible billionaires, map out the architecture of memory, plunge into the dark belly of AI, and finally, bring it all together by revealing the unseen.
Starting with Section 1, Germany's invisible billionaires, and wealth hiding in the shadows.
When we think of extreme wealth, we usually picture this highly visible, almost Hollywood myth, don't we? Flashy mega yachts, celebrity tech CEOs, just a constant, loud flaunting of status. But in Europe's wealthiest nation, the super-rich do the exact opposite. They intentionally stay completely hidden. The German reality is fascinatingly different. The vast majority of Germany's ultra-wealthy actually own medium-sized businesses. They don't want to be recognized at all. They might own, multiple luxury villas, but they will purposely park a totally standard Volkswagen out front. They fly completely under the radar to avoid public scrutiny and what is a very intense cultural fear of envy.
To really put this into perspective, think about this number, 1001. Every single year, Manager Magazin in Germany painstakingly tracks the 1001 richest Germans. And let me tell you, it is incredibly difficult work because a lot of these individuals have zero internet presence, literally none. You couldn't find a photo of them if you tried. Even though they are the absolute backbone of the German economy, the average citizen would struggle to recognize a single one of them if they walked past them on the street.
So you have to ask, why do they do this? Well, Christian von Bechtelsheim, who is an asset manager for a lot of these wealthy families, sums it up perfectly. He notes that they prefer to fly under the radar to avoid envy, believing they'd have much more to lose than to gain. It's not just about being modest, it's really about security. Standing out invites unwanted attention, potential public backlash, and even severe physical risks like kidnapping. Their power and influence are absolutely vast, but it's an invisible kind of power.
Moving right along to Section 2, the architecture of memory. Let's take a look at your hidden mind.
Just as immense wealth operates completely out of sight, the very thing that makes you is running silently in the dark. On the surface, your memory feels like a literal magic trick. You flawlessly recite a poem, you instantly recognize a friend's face in a crowd, or you just hop on a bicycle and ride without a single conscious thought about balance. But below the surface, down in the hidden neurobiology, it is a chaotic, constantly adapting back end. Your brain is firing off complex neural networks, physically changing cells, and constantly editing information. It's even actively forgetting millions of details every single day, just to maintain your sanity and keep the whole system from overloading.
You see, memories aren't static computer files. They're not JPEGs saved on a hard drive. They are living, physical things called engrams. An engram is a permanent physical change in nerve cells that forms a memory trace. So when you learn something new, your nerve cells communicate via synapses using chemical messengers, and that actually causes a permanent physical alteration in the cell structure itself. Every single time you recall that memory, you reactivate and often slightly modify that physical trace.
Now, you might think your ability to remember is just something you're born with, right? Like eye color. But look at this. 50%. Your memory performance is only 50% genetic. The other half? That relies entirely on environmental factors, socio-demographic conditions, and active, deliberate training. Because the brain relies heavily on neuroplasticity, you have to actively build and maintain these physical pathways. It's a massive system, requiring immense, totally invisible upkeep.
We can really see this unseen labor of the brain when the system suddenly breaks down. Take the deeply inspiring journey of Nicole Adam. At just 49, severe strokes caused sudden, drastic memory loss, basically wiping out her brain's spatial awareness of the entire left side of her body. In her first year post-stroke, she was struggling with the most basic tasks, literally needing sticky notes just to remember to flush the toilet. But by year 2, she started engaging in intensive mirror therapy. She was visually tricking her brain into believing her paralyzed arm was moving. And today, through pure, sheer motivation and neuroplasticity, she has successfully regained arm movement. She actually physically forced her brain to build brand new, hidden synapses. It's incredible.
Okay, on to Section 3, the dark belly of AI and the hidden labor keeping it all afloat.
If we move from the human brain over to the artificial one, we see this iceberg effect at its absolute most extreme. We are constantly sold a very specific public face of AI, aren't we? It's pitched as this utopian, fully automated, totally clean technological paradise that's going to solve everything from disease to the climate crisis. But the unseen reality is starkly different. AI is not just some floaty digital cloud. It is deeply, heavily physical. It requires exploited human labor, largely located in the global south, massive environmental drains of water and minerals, and deeply traumatizing content moderation just to keep that public interface looking clean.
Driving this relentless push is the pursuit of something called AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence. This is essentially the holy grail for tech leaders, a system that outsmarts humans in every single cognitive domain. A lot of the architects building this technology subscribe to ideologies, often grouped under the acronym TESCREAL, which includes things like long-termism and transhumanism. Basically, they view this distant, superintelligent future as so immensely, undeniably important that it justifies almost any immediate human or environmental cost today.
It is honestly staggering how physical the supposedly virtual technology actually is. Just look at the hidden resources keeping AI running. According to World Bank estimates, there are somewhere between 150 to 430 million data workers globally manually annotating images and text to train these models. Then there's the content moderation side, where actual humans manually filter out extreme violence and abuse so the AI doesn't learn to replicate it. And physically, AI gobbles up a gargantuan amount of water, electricity, and rare earth minerals like cobalt and lithium ripped right out of the Earth's crust.
Let's look a little closer at the human cost of this moderation. 83 cents. That is exactly what some data workers in countries like Kenya are paid per task to clean up the internet's absolute worst garbage. They are tasked with reviewing hundreds of examples of extreme human depravity, violence, abuse, explicit content, just to flag it so that when you use a friendly AI chatbot, you get a polite, safe, sanitized answer.
To really understand the heavy weight of that, listen to the words of Fine Makira, a former AI data worker from Kenya. She says, "I used to have nightmares. I could not go out. Today there are still traces of the PTSD. The psychological toll of viewing this toxic content day in and day out is just devastating." The pristine, magical interface of our smart devices is directly paid for by the hidden trauma of workers operating entirely out of the public's view.
Finally, Section 4. Revealing the unseen. Let's bring it all together with a synthesis.
We've covered a ton of ground today, right? Moving from the boardrooms of Germany to the neurobiology of the human brain, all the way to the data centers of the global south. But the absolutely crucial point is this. To truly understand our reality, we have to look below the surface. We have to look past the tip of the iceberg. True economic power doesn't always flaunt itself on mega yachts. Often it hides in quiet, medium-sized enterprises. Your very identity, your memory, it isn't just a given. It's actively maintained by fragile, hidden biological networks that demand constant upkeep. And the technological magic of our modern era, it isn't magic at all. It relies heavily on immense physical infrastructure and unseen, often highly exploited human labor.
So, I want to leave you with this one final thought. The next time you interact with a perfectly seamless system, whether you're analyzing a booming economy, recalling a really fond memory from your past, or just typing a prompt into a flawless AI chatbot, will you stop for just a second and ask yourself, what is the hidden cost keeping all of this afloat? Thank you so much for exploring with me today. Keep asking those big questions, keep looking beneath the surface, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.